a little bit for them all to connect. And as soon as I see them start connecting, I'm going to play this intro. Oops, who's that? Oh, maybe it was an accident. I wonder. Okay. Everybody's coming on now. So we got 4 people in the house so far. Okay, hang on. Okay, I'm going to play the intro, and then we're going to come back and get to know this new friend, this beloved sister, who is involved with something called the Mana movement. And I'm going to, which I don't normally do, but I'm going to do it because I think it's important. I'm going to do a little intro in regard to the Mana movement, and then we can jump into this conversation. We'll be right back with our final episode today. See you in a minute. Okay, welcome everybody to our 4th and final episode of Soul Speaks 5D today. It's a conscious conversation between 2 people getting to know each other. We got a beautiful beloved sister here, Chrissy Fire, Maine, and it looks like she brought her own fan club with her. It looks like Sasha and Melina and a couple other people making comments about how they know you. And I like this comment, Olivia May. Thank you for your comments. Oh, she is the best, such a pure heart and such authenticity. Chrissy is involved, and we're going to find out about her and about what she's involved with. It's called the Mana Movement. I'm going to read you a little intro that's on her Facebook page. The Mana Movement is a return to spirit. It is a movement of sacred exchange, a future family, a community. The Mana Movement is an initiative to bring people back to living soul-led lives in order to create thriving, ecocentric human communities. Sounds like the energy of Soulogy. I think there's many Mana movements and Soulogy movements around the world. Yes. It also goes on to say that, let me just pull it up, we encourage and aim to free the spirit and soul, returning our human family back to our most powerful essence of what it means to be truly human. Again, it sounds very much like something I could have written or Morgan could have written about Soulogy. I also want to cover one other thing. She just posted an hour ago. She has a page called the Mana, M-A-N-A movement on Facebook. And it says, this is what it says. There is something so profound in joining a global group of people and becoming a family very swiftly. In our essence, humans are loving and trusting of one another. It is only our trauma that makes us distrustful or lacking the trust. We need to come through that if we are going to create a better world. Can you freely be with others, with new people? Can you freely share your feelings with a group? If not, there may be work to do. If there's things holding back your heart, when are you going to see to them? The world is tough enough already. It's time to soften and surrender into our hearts and into the keeping of one another. This post is also bringing up the manifestrix in 5 weeks, and we'll give you time at the end of the show to talk about where people can find you and any initiatives such as this that you might be having come up. So let me just say, welcome. Thank you for coming and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, Todd, I feel deeply moved. I'm like in tears. I don't know what's happening here, but
This is what it's all about. I think what's happening here
yeah.
is what you just wrote about in these 3 paragraphs. Seriously. I
Oh,
mean, it is what it is, right?
it is what it is. It's heart's wide
Uh,
open.
well, you know, it's we get together on this program, this platform, to discuss real time intel yeah, and other things. Don't get me wrong, the stories, people's journeys, their skills, abilities, higher sensitivities. But I'm a big believer, and I've said it many times, and I'll say it again, that our biggest downloads, channelings, transmissions, and activations come from a conversation between two conscious people, two or more, in this vortex that's created by everyone that's part of it, which is everyone that watches it live and replay. There is no linear time. So, and many times we have experienced in 2,600 plus shows moments like this,
Yes.
and they're real.
Yeah, they're real. It's in the feeling, do you know? What you shared just now is beautiful to hear because I haven't heard that or thought about that really. That, the greatest awarenesses that we can be afforded come from listening to two conscious beings speak. I've never really heard that, but I experienced that, working very closely with my greatest inspiration in love and soul, Liz Gilbert Grant, and it's in the spaces even between the words. It's the spaces that
That's it.
we just feel each
Yeah,
other.
that's
We
it.
just feel that we're seeing is creating the most change
Hmm.
in the field is the feeling of love. Nothing to speak about,
Yeah.
just the feeling of it. It's wow. Yeah, I'm feeling it a lot now. I have to
I
say, coming
I
from
I
you
mentioned
to you and
I mentioned this
friend
on
Jim.
a yeah. Uh,
Moved.
um, I mentioned this on a couple of shows last week. It's what you're talking about. Uh,
Mm,
so I reconnected with an old friend from elementary school, really a best friend, and
mm,
we've been out of touch 12 years.
mm.
And so we were talking on the phone, and he said, "Do you remember we used to drive around in your truck, and we would just drive and drive and drive all over the metroplex, country, whatever?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do you remember that we used to just not say anything? We would just be quiet." And it was so much of a revelation or epiphany or validation of what you just said, that here's somebody from my past who doesn't run in these circles. He's in a very 3D lifestyle. Not, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He's a beautiful man.
Mm, mm,
But for that observation to be recalled in that moment, I thought was very powerful. And
mm,
it's what you're talking about. It's the space between the words.
mm. It really is, just it. It's accessible to all.
Hmm.
Like I'm sure you are the same, and your listeners here are the same. That anything that feels exclusive or hierarchical or anything at all that has sort of energetics of levels is, we all absolutely speak the language of love and we all can feel it. And so that is the language we must be using.
Yeah.
And it's not the words.
Hmm.
It's got nothing to do with words. It's a feeling. If we're not embodying love and when we're not connecting to each other. And
Yeah.
that's where the beauty is, isn't it, Todd?
Yes.
That's where it all happens.
I had this impression a few days ago, and in communion, and it went something like this. For me anyway, they're not always verbatim. How do you how do you verbalize what's coming in? But it was something along the lines of, essentially, Todd, the universe is reconnecting to itself. It's connecting to itself. And, at first blush, that doesn't sound like a lot, but as I look at what's happening to all of us, I think it's in our understanding, our greater understanding of that we're connected to everything. Therefore, we are influencing everything. And, what better way to come back to ourselves and to be trained to become I guess a bigger creator, a larger creator. I mean, like, what do you think? Do you think that it's within our potential to, any one of us, to become that, made in the image, and to create universes, to create planets, to create, whatever?
Absolutely. But we have divine choice also,
Yeah.
like, so we can choose the opposite. We can choose to be as unaware as we'd love to.
That's
And
true.
that's okay too. Like, that's the free will thing.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But absolutely, I think we all have the potential.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, who knows?
Well, and that's always the big thing, right? No, it's always. I used to say when I first woke up, I used to get, we're going to give you 90% hard evidence, divine episodes, dimensional experiences, whatever it is, but the other 10 you'll never get. That 10 you have to provide, like a faith in action, basically.
Yes, I relate to that concept, or that energetic. I sort of use the word willingness to describe it. When we show up with willingness, with the energetic of willingness, willingness to do everything that is needed, willingness to take care of 100% of something, we then don't need to. It's like the universe seems to really reward the energetic of willingness when we show up with it and go, right, I'm going to scrub every toilet. Right, I'm going to, I'm going to do it all.
Right.
The universe just very swiftly comes along and goes, well, no, you don't have to. I'm going to do this part, this part, this part, this part, this part, and all the support comes in, all the keys, in the case of your example, all the keys and the clues, they come in when we're willing.
Yeah.
That's just such a magic key to the universe, willingness.
Yeah.
People unfortunately don't know that, and so just sitting, waiting for everything to be rolled out.
And openness too, right? I mean,
yes.
I often go back to those early days, and I think about some of the experiences I had, or even that I have with Morgan, because when you have two, it becomes a little bit different, where you can, because you can go, hey, did you see that? Do you know what I mean? But
yes.
and I was thinking about my mindset. Now this would have been 2011. For a lot of people, it's 2012, give or take a year or two. But there was a willingness and an openness, and there was also this knowing, like something big's going on. And I feel like it's still there for all of us, but it's becoming more of a natural thing, something that we're being kind of spoon fed, I guess. But it's just so. Let me ask you. I always like to ask people this when they first come on. When did you wake up, or have you always been this weird?
I've definitely always been this weird. God, I can safely say I was always awake at this moment. But just, in an environment that was, let's just say, not very supportive of spiritual awareness or development. So I kind of was, I guess, not hiding, but just sort of laying low, I guess, just sort of keeping my head down while I made sense of, the socioeconomic bracket of society that I was living in, and the schools I went to and all that sort of thing. But as soon as I could bust out of there, I did.
Right.
And was able to.
Typical outlaw light worker frequency.
Total rebel. Total wild rebel when I was younger. But yes, the minute I could sort of bust out of the home and the home city, I went to the other side of the world for 10 years.
You went to the other side of the world. Where did you go? Are you from Australia?
I'm from Australia, but I went directly to London and lived in London and Paris for 10 years.
Wow. Are you an artist?
Yes, I'm an artist. Yes, yeah. I'm a musician, I'm a singer, but I'm a poet as well. I love to dance.
Wow.
I'm a chef. Yeah, what other art? They're mainly the art forms, or healing arts, obviously, but sort of creative visual arts. I'm not even visual, audio. Yeah, I like to make music.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah,
I love music.
Always awake, I think, Todd. To be honest. Yeah. Always aware, very aware as a young girl, even in the sort of the schoolyard, of how much upset there was around me in the hearts, how much misunderstanding, how much heavy energy, and Hutcha was sitting in the space, sitting around in between us girlfriends. Even at a young age, I was very aware of it all. So started, my little eagle eyes were out pretty young, watching dynamics around the human heart.
A lot of people that have come on the show have said something very similar. I was born this way. They'll go on to say, like, I thought everybody was this way, and then I try to fit in with everybody else. And then another common thing is I got to a certain point, I shut it down, because I was told those invisible friends aren't real, or whatever the case was, or they got into out of school, traditional paths of going to work 9 to 5, traditional relationships based in codependency, whatever. And then there was a resurgence at some point. Now, some people that have come on, I've got people come on that woke in the 60s, 70s and 80s, but a lot of them are in or around 2012. Did you feel any change occurring within yourself or even within the collective on or about 2012?
Absolutely. Personally, yes, and collectively. For me, how it looked was, personally, I went to Peru for the first time on the equinox, the spring equinox of 2012, which was my 33rd birthday at Machu Picchu at that date. So pretty profound lineup.
That's a hell of an alignment.
Yeah. Yes, and that happened actually quite spontaneously, which is even the weirdest thing. But that, made a massive difference and change in my life, because I connected with soul lineage, actually, having lived many lifetimes in the Andes. And at that time, I was completely unknowing of that until I got to those lands. And sort of connected in with the indigenous shamans there, and they were like, you've been here forever, you're back, thank you, that's good you're here. And that just really took my magic to the next level. I absolutely, not so much my magic, but I guess it just enabled sort of any remaining doubts or insecurities or anything that I had about who I am and what I'm here to do. It kind of just melted all that away. I felt all of a sudden, very, very, very supported by those mountain spirits and and my tribe over there. Essentially, they were just like right in, and I was like, okay, here, let's go. Yeah. And so, yes, for me, a massive change in that year, and collectively, yes. Collectively also, and again, the way I see it has to do with Peru. We know that the Kundalini energy of the planet moved to the Sacred Valley of Peru at that, they say it fully landed and anchored in 2012, but as far as the Andean masters are concerned, the process began in 95. They began to welcome in and start, integrating the Kundalini energy of the planet.
I heard that before. I heard that a couple of times, or read it, where they said that that in other words, they had to push it back or something. I remember, or slow it down or something. I remember, but that it had actually started in the 90s.
Yes, that's that comes directly from Don Cucho, Maestro Cucho, who's the guardian shaman of Machu Picchu.
Oh wow, they have a guardian shaman of Machu Picchu.
Yes, wow. He is. Yes, amazing man. He's actually a godfather to my son.
Wow.
And a friend, and he's mind-blowing human.
So I mean, obviously you were lit. You were always lit, and so you go to Peru on your 33rd birthday.
Yes.
Jacob's ladder, and all this. Yes. What was it like, though, to talk to shamans who told you welcome home?
Oh, it was a trip. That was such a trip I had, because I actually had no idea. I had never had Peru even on my list. It wasn't even somewhere I wanted to go. I simply went there to meet David Wolf, who was a great mentor at the time, with all things dietary and other things. He, was really teaching me a lot. So I went there to meet him. I would have gone to Slovenia to meet him. I would have gone to wherever. So it was so random that I ended up there. So when they started giving me information, I was shocked at first, but then I had my own experiences. So the coca leaf readers would talk about it. I'd be picking up telepathic messages from the young Keros shamans there that I couldn't quite grasp, but I could feel that they were really flowing me a lot of communication.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I started having my own experiences, and that was mainly, through the plant medicines, especially the very first time I worked with the cactus medicine. I had the most profound experience whereby the mountains, I was out in the mountains and running in the mountains like a horse, which is my totem, was like galloping barefoot through these mountains, like neighing at the top of a hill, and off I went again.
That's funny.
It was wild what was happening to me.
So was that you said cactus, was that peyote?
No, it's called Huachuma or San Pedro. San Pedro cactus is the name Spanish gave it, but the indigenous name is Huachuma.
Huachuma.
Yes.
I asked some of these questions because there's so many people waking up now. We had somebody on about 10 days ago who channels Metatron. And he said that Metatron had told him in 2020 more people had awakened in 2020 than the previous 10 years, which was a pretty powerful 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, the reason I asked some of these questions because there's so many people, waking up, and we know it's nonlinear, and the offerings can assist them through people's personal recollection of their experiences. But was there ever a point? I love asking people like you this. Was there ever a point when you saw what was happening collectively and you went, "It's about time"?
Oh God, I'm waiting for that moment.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm still waiting patiently.
You're still waiting.
No.
Did you have a knowing that there would be a collective ascension?
Yes. That's why I'm here. Oh, absolutely. I've known that in every atom of my body and heart and soul, and since I was born. Although it's not a conscious process, not a mental process, absolutely, that's my program, is to be here for that time. So that was never in doubt for me. Yes, and I know, always knew it would be around this time just due to indigenous prophecies.
Yeah.
And yes, was very aware that there would also be the counter agenda that would, sort of play in at the similar time. So, I kind of, had both sides of the story in my knowing and was just sort of waiting. And, I've been seeing the awakening, obviously, steadily going. But then when the other agenda hit in pretty hard last year, I was like, okay, here we go. It's on. Let's go. Let's drive this home.
And how about that? How about that last year? I mean, it's like if and I'm not advocating anything, but I mean, if you research a little bit and you're open to the narrative that there is ill intentions behind such things as you're speaking of, it's very interesting to me in a lot of ways, and the most profound way to me is that it worked backwards. like it was intended one way, yet it created an impetus for the biggest awakening, year of awakening, per friend's description. And I know you got a lot of it there. Are you near Victoria?
No, no, I'm not. I'm in the next state north,
New
South Wales, and I'm toward the north of New South Wales.
Isn't that where the crocodiles are?
No, they're much further north.
I asked Morgan. She always tells me it's in that corner up there. You must be further up in that corner. It must be further up in that corner. So So and now I think I know you're an artist, and obviously you're one of the principals, if not the principal, behind this mana movement. As you've gone along your journey and things have expanded both internally and externally, were you given or were skills and abilities, specific skills and abilities, higher sensitivities, were they explained or enhanced, or what's your mission type of thing? Did that type of information come in? Does that make sense? I mean, the guidance you've been receiving on a personal level?
Yes. It's a really interesting question. I've never thought about that. Yes, the answer is definitely yes, but for me personally, it's been much more subtle. The guidance that I've received in this life it's rarely been very clear and crystal clear and direct in terms of directives. But I saw early on I've had, I don't vision a lot. I mostly see through my belly and through knowing. So I'm not really I don't get a lot of vision, do occasionally, but I did have a very strong vision as a young one, and that has stayed with me. And that was me using my voice to unlock and crack away fields of illusion and limitation around the human family, just in particular tones and frequencies. And so at the time that dropped in, I understood that I was to use my voice in a way that wasn't music. And sound healing and sound, all that sort of stuff wasn't on my radar back then. This was 24 years ago, and from the background I lived in, it wasn't so. But I was studying a lot of sort of esoteric and all sorts of wisdom at that age, and learning a lot about frequencies and how they were used in ancient civilizations. But then, yes, quite swiftly, experiences started to happen when I would sing without singing music, just to open, and even one in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, which, again, another one of those moments that was like, oh my God, that actually happened. That was, again, random, totally random. But yes, through my voice, a lot of awareness came in around, who I had been and what I'd been doing and why. And so, yes, I've been guided in that way around to use my voice. And in fact, that's how to put words to this. I feel like when I'm in Peru, when I'm in the Andes and I'm working with Wachuma, the cactus medicine, and I am, open and channeling through my voice, probably the most profound I don't want to use the word spiritual phenomenon occur. You know, I don't want it to sound kind of like, but yeah, it is probably my greatest key to much greater dimensions is my
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's something to be said for that. You know, to me, for a lot of reasons, but a couple of them are, one is if you look at the, let's just say the upper chakras and the lower chakras tend to have a physicality, you know, more of a physicality, I guess. And of course the upper chakras, they are more of an etheric feel, third eye, crown. But the throat seems like it's both, right? Like there's an invisibleness to my voice, but at the same time, there's this, it's like a blend. And a lot of
Yes.
people have talked about this, how especially the feminine, finding their throat chakra and, coming out, so to speak. And we've been honored to have many, many of them come out for the first time on this program.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but and the other thing is too is what you were saying. You reminded me of something that's happened to me a few times, when I'm alone, and that is this. I don't know what it is. It's not a word. It's not a tone. It's like a vibration or a resonance, like, and then it just goes different places. And to me, like, if I had to, like, from my own experience, define, what is how can you explain what it is? It being when we're alone in silence in the void. To me, that's the first thing that comes out. It's like a sound that's not just a sound. I don't know. As someone who works in that realm, what are your thoughts on, beyond what you said? In terms of the that expression, the light language, toning. I mean, that type of thing.
What I know is that sound can shift, basically shift molecules, shift fabrics in physical material, a physical universe. Something's coming to mind immediately, which is a particular portal in the high Andes. And this would be true for many of them. In fact, I know it is, from personal experience. But this particular portal, many people have disappeared through. And, some return and are spat out 10 meters away from the actual portal in the rock. And what takes people through is sound. There are 3 tones that the Aymara shamans of Lake Titicaca know about, and it's secret and not many people know. I don't know them. But there are these 3 seed sounds that start to move the silica in the rock, and it creates and look, it wouldn't just be the sound, it would definitely be the placement of the portal. I'm sure with particular ley lines and probably a lot of guardian magic around it, but those sounds allow the sort of I don't want to use the word, openings in the fabrics, in the cross-dimensional doorways open up, and sound can do that. I have experienced the most incredible stuff in portals in Peru with sound, consciously using sound to move around, and definitely felt a lot shift, and information come, connection come to galactic brothers and sisters. Sound is a rocket ship. Really,
So,
it totally is.
no,
Jump
I love
on.
it. I love it. It's Yeah. I mean, it's, having these conversations is, I mean, I have two, a cosmic muse, as you referred to earlier, your highest inspiration, mine's Morgan. And,
Hmm.
but, and so there's that part of it, which is really the trunk of the tree, right? And
Hmm.
but beyond that, these conversations, it's like a certain knowing, like when I'm having a conversation, like what you just told me. I could have
Hmm.
never said that,
Hmm.
but I listen to you and then it expands. Like for
Yes.
instance, I had for 35 years I had seizures and I would always get nauseated before, and sometimes I would throw up. And so
Hmm.
I would be laying on the bathroom floor and
Hmm.
I would start, for no reason, apparently no reason, but obviously there was a reason, and it would actually take me out of that state.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate what you're saying, and of course you're speaking at a much broader level. Mine's just an example of a man laying on the bathroom floor trying not to throw up. But yeah,
Hmm.
I get that what you're saying. Are you I mean, everybody's different in terms of how they commune with the universal,
Hmm.
and there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious. Do you have an affinity or a special connection with particular essences or species, or whether they be inner Earth or galactic or angelic or anything like that? Or are you kind of dealing with the singular voice of the universal?
Great question. No, I definitely have alliances, stronger alliances. It definitely feels like it's my mission to be earth-bound and focused.
Yeah.
I am kind of like an ambassador for Pachamama, a mini Pachamama. I mean, in the Andes, that's what we believe, that every woman is a Pachamama, is a Mother Earth. Um, so I feel very connected to soil, earth, mud, and plants and trees, just sort of the whole sort of ecosystem of earth. I feel like that is my playground. I feel very, very comfortable in jungles barefoot. I feel very comfortable up mountains barefoot. Swimming in the ocean, swimming in the rivers. Like I feel very much a child and a champion of Mother Earth.
Yeah.
um, I am very aware, so fire is my medicine. Has been so I've worked a lot with the elementals when I was younger, and still do. But yeah, fire is definitely my element. And yeah, I am very connected to certain animals. I have very strong totem relationships
Hmm.
with the animal kingdom. Um, that took me through even from young childhood. A couple of animals totally showed up for me until I was sort of 20 odd, and then others came in. And then once I got to Peru, the animals of the cosmology there really really began working with me in a very big way, and Indigenous animal spirits here for sure. When I do sound healings and channelings, yes, a lot of the elementals sing through my voice, and a lot of the ancestors of the land sing through. But further afield, I can feel my family alliances. um, I can feel my connections to Sirius, and I can feel my connections to the Pleiadians, and that's very obvious to me. Although I don't know much about it, I
Yeah.
don't see I just know it, but that's enough.
Yeah.
But out of interest, I had once a coca leaf reading in the Andes with Puma of Chinchero, who is a very high level shaman over there, probably the highest in the Andes. Again, a good a mate, and just a legend. And he at one point pulled out, or not pulled, through the coca leaves, and there was, he's a master coca leaf reader, and there was a coca leaf with 8 white bumps or nodules up its spine. I've never seen anything like that, and then never have since. And he said, "Ooh, Chrissy, oh, you've got 8, you got 8 star systems working with you, 8." And
Wow.
I feel that to be true, Todd. Like, I can feel that's the truth, but I don't know much about it, and I'm not here to know much about it.
Yeah.
And I can remember that being a bit like, "Oh, am I a little bit unaware or something, and am I not seeing anything?" And Liz, my ally, said, "No, no, no, Chrissy, it's like not what you're here to do. You're not here to focus on the stars.
Yeah.
You're here to focus on the human heart. That's your mission," and it is. So although I'm aware of that stuff,
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time. I spend every moment I can freeing the human heart. Like that, I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
So
your
yes.
connection is more organic, and I can relate to your connection, because when I met Morgan, I hardly had ever even used the word galactic. But one of the first things that came in was, she's galactic and I'm organic, and she probably said it first, but mine was always like yours, right? There was certain essences, like biblical type of essences, but and I'm like you too, because being with someone like that, who's got like total recall in the moment at times, and from a galactic standpoint, I've often asked my team, because I'm the same as you, I feel it and I know it. I know Sirius, I know Alpha Centauri, a couple others, but those would be the 2 strongest. But anyway, I would ask, and I would be basically, I would get, and this has happened many times, you don't need to know.
That's it.
It's not where your
That's it.
your subtle recall is accurate, but you don't need to know the details. And and I've realized as time's gone on, it's the organic that I'm I would say, like, maybe even say, reacquaint myself with, reroute myself with. I love asking people like you, because one of the things that I think we've all struggled with is, wow, he can do that or she can do that, and I can't do it. And we're trying to get into a space of oneness, and that's a factor. But what do you do when you get triggered? Do you have a personal process that you go through, or do you have a toolkit that you just utilize as what you feel is needed at the time?
Absolutely. Triggered around that particular thing that you
No,
just said
just
about it, not just
anything.
anything.
You go down the street and somebody looks at you the wrong way or something, whatever.
Yes.
Does it happen
Yes.
to you? And if so, how do you deal with it?
Yes, definitely get triggered, of course. I'm only human. I have, so as a sort of guide and as a way show, I am committed to getting support. I have to work through my things swiftly. I can't really afford to mess about in stuff, because I'm holding space for so many people. I kind of have to move swiftly. So my protocol is to feel everything to the absolute depths. So if I am feeling frustrated, or if I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad, or whatever it is, I commit to riding the wave in its entirety. So I've become a master of that, of no suppression whatsoever. So I might have to take myself into my room to do that, or I might have to just mental note, okay, like, oof, you can feel that when you get back home, process it, like fully feel it, go through everything. And then also I reach out to as many guides as I can. I don't just stop at 1 or 2. I will, like, and it's not because I want different answers. It's I take every single thing on board, and I am a glutton for wisdom. And I will reach out as much as I can, as I said, to firstly Liz, who is my healer and my mentor, and the woman I work very closely with. and then, yeah, just get as much support as I can to process it. Liz is great. She will, hold my, face in something, or, like lovingly confront me. She doesn't sort of let me, she's a real guide and a real friend. So yeah, I'll do my best to move through it really swiftly. That's the thing. I don't want to mess about. We don't want to mess about in heavy energies.
Swift but thorough.
Yeah, swift and thorough. And then, of course, what's really important is making amends immediately. So when you ask the question firstly, when do you get triggered? I'm like, oh my God, so much. And it's by my son. I don't get triggered a lot elsewhere, but my son and I are really triggering each other at the moment. He's 12 years old, nearly
What
12.
a gift.
I know, it's so beautiful. And luckily, there's just so much fierce love between us. So we are, there for each other, even though we're like, we'll come back together and go, oh, I love you. Like, let's work this out. Like, what, so we're in it together, which is wonderful. But what I know I have to do is immediately apologize. If I've snapped at him or been, a grouch or a poo, I know I need to make amends immediately, because otherwise he then carries that into his day. And so, yeah, I just like to move as swiftly as I can, to be honest. Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know. Yeah. And do you work with people like as a practitioner, like an energy practitioner? Do you work with
Yes.
people? Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
and you would be able to speak to this better than I would, but do you see that type of process kind of getting traction over the last few years? More and more people being conscious, taking stuff on as it comes, making amends. The whole thing you just described. Do you see that broadening in people, like in your clients and such?
Yes, absolutely. I think, where I'm seeing it initially is in the bigger picture. I'm seeing that, we are seeing that humanity is becoming more and more mature. We are, and that, like you said, it's sort of, it's bigger than us, this awakening process that we're going through. It's yes or yes, it's happening. We can't deny, like, we are waking up. So yes, we are seeing people who are
Let go, be dragged, right?
Yeah, that's right. People are wanting to they're wanting to, have better quality relationships. They're wanting to, I'm just seeing a lot of people who are more willing to take responsibility for the fact that they are the common denominator in their life.
Yeah.
So they've got lots of, relationships that aren't working. Well, hold on, buddy, who's the common denominator? People are actually realizing that, God, I'm having all these experiences. So I feel it in the field, yes or yes. But where I see it, that really shows it up for me, is in my blood family. I'm just seeing the shifts in my blood family. Beautiful, beautiful people that are not interested in self-development, no spiritual vocabulary at all, and very little emotional vocabulary at all, or interest in mastering or learning, even in those areas. That they're not that type of people. But I can see them shifting.
You can. So these are the same people that supported your awakening and all the things that you do. I'm kidding, because
they did. They
did they really?
absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of people that come on, when I ask them that question about, are you weird? Have you always been this weird, or when did you wake up? Part of the story is, when 2012 or thereafter, they start to follow their guidance, and so many of them are kind of on the outside looking in when it comes to the blood family. That's great that you had support. What about I'd love to hear what your comments are on the masculine and the feminine. Do you feel like that there's a specific role that the feminine is fulfilling and vice versa? And what are your thoughts on androgyny and what that might be as we step further and further into this thing?
Powerful. Yes, I absolutely feel that there are specific roles that are more natural, let's say, to the masculine energy or the feminine energy, doesn't mean that they can't swap over, or like we see in androgyny, a beautiful blending. So everything I'm going to say is not hard and fast. Of course, there's exceptions, but I think generally, very simply, I feel that generally the role of the feminine is to channel down and to sway and to flow with the cosmic winds, if you like, and to hold everything that ever has been. The typical womb story. We hold, and for us to best be able to sway with abandon, with absolute abandon, and without having to, do or think of anything else, we are best held by the masculine. And I feel that the role, an ideal role for the masculine is to hold and create a very strong, solid, unshakable container around her. So she feels absolutely safe.
Right.
Absolutely. Without a skerrick of a doubt, she can then just do what she came to do.
I love that.
And men, not just men, but the masculine energy is so empowered in that role. I've found that the men that I'm close to, that I feel that the men in my life who are the strongest servicemen to the awakening process, the strongest allies to the feminine energy are those that have made a choice to serve it.
Yeah.
And do so with utmost reverence and honor. They are freaking strong men. Like, that in itself denotes strength. Because it's a big vision. It's looking toward, the cosmos, and also down for the next 7 generations. It's like, right, this is what we need to do. We need to, protect the women, and hold the women so they can do the magic. We're both doing it together. We can't do it without each other.
Right, exactly.
We can't do that without, that strong, being strongly held and trusted.
Yeah, I love the way you described that. As you were describing that, I was picturing like so like the womb, right? Like the holy darkness, the mother, the womb, and so that is a container. That's a container of new birth and of creation, right? And so I love what you said, because then you bring it down to the earth experience, and I always think of those words, made in the image, right? As somebody brought this up today, which I'm sure people have heard before, but like the word man is contained in woman. He is contained in her. He is contained in she, so there's some rhyme to the reason there. But so as you were describing it, it's almost like he is creating a womb. He's creating a space, which is basically where he comes from. And therefore, she is like almost like a wild Mustang that you let out of the stockade. You know what I mean? I mean, like you said, because you run free with abandon, right? And then when you said the part about the strength or the power, the self-realization due to the emulation and execution of having created that really stood out for me. That's a powerful thought to hold in my field, as I look at my own life. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Pleasure. I know when that sort of symbol or imagery was presented to me, I felt so much freedom in it. I thought, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm looking for in the masculine. It's just that, to be surrounded on all sides.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm really I'm really. Look, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you run over time, or do you need to go?
Oh, totally. No, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
I have
'Cause-
something in an hour.
Okay,
Plenty of
good.
time.
So maybe we'll go another half hour because I
Yeah.
do want to give you some time to talk about
Please.
some of the things you're doing. But yeah, I really, really appreciate what you just described because in my head, I really wish I was an artist that I mean, that type of artist where, but I actually see this, it's almost like an hourglass. And actually I
Yes.
can see the figure in my head,
Mm.
but I can't place where I've seen it. So it's like a
Yes.
big, almost like a big, well, a uterus or a womb,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you have this other one that's smaller,
Mm.
you know, that
Mm.
that is replicated through this willingness that you were talking about, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
it starts over, right? Like
Right on.
she has full range, which
Yes.
means everything is included, nothing's left out. And that's another thing that you said too that I thought was really important. And it's been my experience with Morgan is that they're the channel. So they're
Mm.
pulling in this information and they're
Mm-hmm.
grounding it, anchoring
Mm.
it
Mm.
so that this can occur.
Mm.
Very
I
cool.
mean, you see it, in the physical bodies. Do you know, like, we, carry the child, the new being, and we need protection from the man. Like that's exactly what needs to happen in the spiritual. It's the same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
thing, and to trust one another. It's unfortunate that there's been so much trust lost between men and women. And I do, that's a probably topic for another discussion altogether. I feel like an agenda to get in between
Yes.
and really shatter the strongest threads of our human family, which is relationship and,
Yeah.
and family and community and
Yeah.
having us doubt each other, having us fear each other, men fearing women, women fearing men.
Mhm.
It's such a tragedy that
Or
we
either
are,
that or it's a
walking out of. What was
perfect.
that?
I said either that or it's a perfect design to serve as a
Both,
cat. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know this.
both, both at the same time. Exactly, exactly.
What about
Yeah.
the uh, again, because of your wealth of experience, through yourself and other people, uh, this telepathy thing,
Mm.
like everything seems to be expanding, but I mean, it looks like our levels of communication are changing, our relationships are changing. There's things being revealed. There's things being enhanced, and it's there's been some talk about maybe uh, the biggest challenge might be getting used to what's natural to us because it's not
Mm.
been the norm for so long. But
Yes.
your thoughts on the impact, or any thoughts you might have on the impact of the physical characteristics of this ascension and in our experience. Anything you can offer there, or add to?
Um, what I feel sort of called to say is that, as we just naturally, as we keep stepping or backpedaling away from this modern society, from this Western ego-centric, hierarchical, competitive society that has nature and Mother Nature right over in the bottom of the rubbish bin,
Right.
when we sort of like wake up, which we are, and go, Jesus, this isn't working for anyone. When we actually sort of start to backpedal, we are going to naturally reclaim our metaphysical abilities,
Right.
because they are inherent, natural, latent. There's no she's got it, he doesn't. No, not at
Right.
all. We all have these abilities, but that society has done a doozy on us, whereby people think that it's special to be telepathic, or
Mhm.
think that it's special to be able to see auras, or even think that it's crazy, like all the the amount of mental control, spiritual control through the mind around our natural abilities is quite strong, but it's breaking down really fast, obviously, while that society is starting to collapse, which is great. So as we start walking out, and because of the ascension process that we are in, universally, cosmically, we are just going, those abilities are going to naturally turn on, and for anyone who is keen for that and would like to sort of support that process, I would just encourage you to get into nature as much as you can. Get away from electromagnetics and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all of these damaging frequencies, because those abilities are obviously around in frequency. And there's a frequency war kind of going on at the moment on the planet with 5G. They're trying to, all of that. So if you want to speed that up for yourself, do what you can to mitigate all those frequencies in your home, and spend a lot more time in nature, and simply know that you have those abilities. They're just tucked away somewhere.
Yeah.
And use your decision to bring them out. Like decision is another superpower that we have that no one's using. Decide, right, I am going to experience my telepathic, my powers of bilocation, my astral traveling. I am going to step into that. Whether you know how to or not, doesn't matter. But the decision itself will begin.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about experience is if you have the desire, it's coming. I mean, if you have the desire, it's going to come. Back to the gender related androgyny. Do you think we'll see? I hate to say the physicalization, but do you see that as part of this ascension wave where androgyny obviously would first align, I guess, in the energetic field, but do you see it as being a part of what we're stepping into or what we're into already in terms of in terms of our normal life?
It's an interesting question. I think it's a possibility. I feel I have to be open to all possibilities.
Yes.
I feel it's a possibility, but I personally don't see that. I personally feel that that's part of the new age programming.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of false stuff being programmed in the new age arena, specifically to take us away from the power of being humans on planet Earth.
I like that.
Yes, so I don't feel that, actually. I feel our power is actually standing 2 feet in our, in gender, and what it doesn't mean to say that androgyny isn't powerful. I'm not saying that at all. But it is, but there's just as much power in being an embodied woman, feminine. There's just as much power as being an embodied male. I personally feel that has a lot more to do with the sort of transhuman AI agenda. But it's being placed into the hearts of the very powerful on the planet, in a lot of very powerful dreamers in the new age. And so there are programs in the new age arena that aren't based in truth and love. And
well, there's plenty of evidence for anybody that wants to research that whole connotation of new age and the new age movement was originated by one of the alphabet agencies, and we can talk about that kind of stuff all day long, every day. But I resonate with what you're saying. I mean, maybe it's unique and specific to this particular set of incarnations or this story of the earth or whatever. But I think that takes it. We say here, I am soul. We say the human is the hero. For a lot of reasons, and to me, it takes it to another level, drilled down a little bit more when it's gender specific and in its wholeness, what it offers with the understanding, as you said, can't do it alone. Takes both, right? But yeah, I really resonate with that. And I was talking to a couple of people earlier on the shows, and I'm asking not because I know anything. I'm asking because I'm doing what we're all doing. I'm seeking,
Yes.
and I was just wanting to get their opinions and their perspective, and yours as well,
Mm.
on there's got to be something to this human thing because
Yes.
this is where it's all happening. You
Mm.
know, I mean, obviously, all this other stuff is coming into us, right? You know, we're all becoming more and more familiar with our multidimensionality and so on, but we're human. So
Yes.
I'm looking at this and I'm going, the human aspect for me is sitting at a table with all my other aspects as an equal part.
Mm.
And maybe this is what's happening. Maybe this is a coming out party for this particular dimension or species of consciousness or whatever, however you want to put it. But if, as far as you know, your thoughts on this, what is the value? Because there seems to be an extraordinary yet to be disclosed fully value to the human aspect that we are.
Mm. Again, like you, I don't know. I'm seeking to that as well. But I do think it has something to do with the love that flows between us, and the essence of us as humans.
Mm.
You know, the it's funny. You know, we. I think it's the most humble and the most simple and inherent qualities of the human race that are the ones that are the most powerful. And so I guess that they are the ones that are coveted. There's a lot of attention, obviously, on planet Earth on the human race,
Yeah.
and I guess your question is about that, like why? Why are we so powerful and special? And I assume, just from intelligence, that it has something to do with what is unique to us. And for me, that comes down to, um, our bodies, and the power of our bodies and our abilities therein, our emotions,
Yeah. I
our
was going to say that.
imagination. Yes, our imagination, our ability to vision and dream and blueprint, the field of all possibilities, our imagination, and our connection to nature. And those four essential qualities of human have been borrowed from a mentor of mine, Bill Plotkin, depth ecologist,
Mm.
genius. When I read that, that made perfect sense to me. I'm like, oh yes, in those four areas there is infinite power and infinite depth of understanding and awareness in our emotional realm, imagination, in our bodies, and our connection to nature.
And I thought a lot about emotions, especially the last couple of weeks. And it started when I saw this 17-minute video of Stefano de Mateus. He's from Peru.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the origin of the realm. And he was talking about the formation of the Galactic Confederation and how that happened and why. And when Earth got to a certain point, they took a vote. Do you want to bring these mammals into this level of frequency or awareness or whatever the case is? You want a system? And the vote was no for most of the people. Eventually it became yes, most of the ETs or whatever. And the reason was because they were somewhat, I don't want to say afraid, but maybe that's the word, of our energy level, of our power, and that it was tied to our emotions. So I've been sitting with this going, how do you convert that emotional, that energy that comes from our emotions? Because as one example, they said, some species have utilized it. It's so powerful. They've tapped into our emotional energy and basically run the energy grid on entire planets.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, that really resonates. So how do you convert? You know what I mean? How do you take that abandon and funnel it into
Mm.
new creations and manifestations and so on?
Mm.
And as I'm listening to you,
Mm.
I'm just, I guess realizing that
Mm.
it's a love. Love
Yes.
is our aligned emotions that are the seed of creation, and we're in the flesh doing it.
Yes. Yes. And I feel actually the power is in the consciousness of each other
Hmm.
within that feeling of love. So, a very simple example is when you have a group of people, you know, 10, 20, 50, 100 more who really drop in together into
Yeah,
a true seeing of each other,
yeah,
a true seeing and acknowledgement in the heart of the magnificent beauty of a human being and of a human
yeah,
heart and everything that we've walked and everything that we give. And like human beings are absolutely exquisite. And if we are not being moved on a daily basis by each other, then we are dead in the water.
yeah,
In the words of my mentor, we're completely asleep. If we are not being moved to tears by the beauty of humanity, then we are got blinders on and we're part of the problem. When we awake to that, when large even small groups, but when bigger and bigger groups come together consciously and feel each other, we can do anything with that
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
That energy that is raised between us is, like you say, an absolute force,
yeah.
and we can heal this planet and create it. Like, it is game over.
Yeah.
When
Like
we
we're two or
actually,
more gather. I mean,
yes,
it's
harness
been,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, and it, and come into each other's keeping. Do you know where it's like, you're my brother. I only met you this morning, but you're my brother. And
yeah,
from this moment on, you will be in my prayers and in my keeping and in my soul family forever.
right on.
It's not just, oh, hi and ciao. No way. And that goes for every human I meet. If we've got to come into each other's keeping, because oh man,
What's that
I know
old?
that that's where the power is.
Yeah, that I think there's an old poem. I'm a poet too. I mean,
Oh,
I don't,
beautiful.
you know, put myself out there all the time about it. But so I've read
Ah,
poetry for years, but I think it's Goethe. I don't know if I say his name right.
Goethe.
And
Yes.
he says, I forget, it's the end of a poem, and he says, he's essentially saying, what is it?
Mm.
It's a kind of what they call chiasmus, which is where you take the words and then you flip them, and it says kind of the same thing backwards. And it's like, I am a part of all that I have met. I'm a part, and they are a part of me. Like it's oneness. It's
Yes.
oneness. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
That's the
You're very fun to talk to, and no, I feel a lot of alignments and connections as you were talking about, like some of the things that you gravitate to, such as the dance and the music and the different type of things. Uh, yeah, I want to give you a little time to talk about it. I had one other thing I wanted to ask you about,
Mm.
and I'm trying to remember what it is. Let's see.
Mm.
We were talking about. Oh, it was the depth psychologist.
Oh, yes.
I had a thought
Ecologist.
too. Oh, ecologist. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh,
Depth.
depth
Yes.
ecologist. Yeah, that makes more
Yes.
sense actually.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so, like you were talking about the imagination,
Mm.
emotions,
Mm.
nature, the
Mm.
connectivity, and I mentioned this in a couple of previous shows too. Like I had this impression of that we're actually the universe
Mm.
reconnecting,
Mm.
connecting to itself, basically. And when you were
Mm.
saying that, I thought to myself, wow, maybe that's why we have such strong, or many people have such strong connections to their pet. what we refer to as a pet, which is another
Yes.
soul. And that, because it's just like being, like with Morgan, or with
Yeah.
with anyone in your life, where you're that connected and you can feel,
Mm,
right? You
mm,
can feel the
mm,
connectivity.
mm,
You might find out about it,
mm,
by, say, projecting or something that's not so comfortable, and you see the
mm,
effect. But the same with the pets, right? I mean, it's like you meet people and they're almost like the pet's the person and the person's the pet. You know what I mean? They have the same
yes.
characteristics and the same, and maybe that's like kind of step one, of this expanded, awareness of our connectivity and the effects that we have on each other.
Mm. Just as my little dog starts peeping up.
See,
He
that's
could
what
hear
happened.
you. He could hear you, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Jupiter.
Well, and a little while ago, you had a bird come in. I think it was you. Did you hear it? Oh my
Oh,
God!
maybe out
Yeah.
there, maybe outside my window.
I don't hear a lot, clearly, but I hear trees, birds,
Ah,
and I heard it come in. It actually used to
mm.
happen to me a lot when I was talking to Morgan on the phone when she was in Australia,
Oh,
and they would
yes.
come in and tell me stuff. It was funny. But you had one come in a minute ago, and then
Oh,
and
yes.
and I started to try to go with it, but I was listening to you. Then somebody said, "Do you have a canary nearby, or is that some kind of being speaking?" I don't know the answer to that. So, thank you so much for indulging me. So tell us about mana, the mana
Mm.
movement.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just, the initiative of one little mama in Australia, that's me, who wants to change the world. It's just my offering.
Yeah.
But really, my focus is on, yeah, bringing one heart, get, you know, getting one heart, completely online, like healing and rehabilitating one soul at a time. I mean, I work in groups and whatever, but my focus is one at a time. Do you know, like the power of one human really, disengaging, unraveling from that matrix of spiritual control and coming back into the truth of who they are. It is so powerful. And so that's my work. The greater intention is to free humanity completely. That is what I'm here. I'm here to see it in my lifetime, and I will see it in my lifetime. The human race completely freed. So
There you
that
go.
is my mission.
Yeah.
And so the Mana movement is like a family. We run online courses. The word course just jars with me every time I say it because they're not courses. They are,
Experiences.
yeah, just so
More than
deeply
that.
sacred, tears rolling down my cheeks most time we're together, where I co-facilitate with my healer, who I just mentioned, Liz Gilbert Grant, a true earth elder, a woman who has put love at the top of the pile her entire life and lived on the edge and at the edge and in the pit and all sorts of places because of it. But I've never met anyone who stayed more true to love than her. And so we offer these sort of online experiences that do actually shift people in their seats. The awareness is, it's not about learning. There's no writing. There's not intellectual at all. It's all awareness change, which is immediate. And then we work with people that need, sort of more care, if you like, for their individual story, which really I believe is kind of all of us. It
Yeah.
depends on how much, you've been able to dissolve thus far. But we have a very small team of women that we've trained in what we call empathic communication. So it's a talk therapy, it's a psychotherapy, but it is more efficient than any modality of healing I've ever seen. And that includes the plant medicines and all the stuff that I do with people in Peru. Those sessions and those courses are something else. So through that work, we sort of have a philanthropic arm and we give a lot of money, to reforestation NGOs, to rehabilitation, regeneration of Indigenous culture NGOs. And earlier in the year, Todd, I set up an initiative to help rehabilitate victims of torture trafficking.
Wow.
So that's called Project Angel. And so I am looking after a very small handful of these survivors of torture trafficking, the most traumatized people on the planet, as you can imagine. And so I am working with the masters in the Andes to reclaim their souls out of the darkness. And that has just changed my life. So that's another thing that we do with the Mana movement. We're really into, like, I guess, yeah, just coming back to our nature, you know, like whether that's like, you know, the physical environment around us, like investing in that, or if it's just investing in a human heart. But it's really about empowering people. And then obviously I take people to the Andes when we're not in restriction and lockdown and, you know, under tyranny as we are right now. I usually take people to the Andes 3 times a year.
Here we go with what is and what isn't, you know, I mean, these
Yes.
things that are, you know, and, you know, and being conscious and careful with what we say and think. Does it really exist? I mean, how does that go away? Do we protest or do we handle it from right here? You know, I mean, it's it's interesting. I feel like it would only make sense on this trajectory that you're going to disengage from every aspect of the 3D constructs. You know what I mean? Because it's all just a facade. I mean, it's all through the power of suggestion and programming. You know, they don't call it programming for nothing. But
absolutely.
it's interesting because I know you guys have gone through a lot of it over there. Morgan put up a question: do you think Liz Gilbert Grant might consider doing a live with Todd too?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
She'd love to. Yeah.
Now, does she live in the same area you do?
No, she's on the Gold Coast of Queensland, so not too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Please invite her on. Oh my God, the woman. I mean, every single time I'm in webinar with her, I am learning so much. Like, just floored. I feel, I really do. I have to say to everyone listening, if you can come and spend some time with Liz Gilbert Grant, you will not regret it. Like, I can most certainly say money back guarantee. Do you know, seriously, because the value of being with this woman will blow your mind. Like, people after 1 or 2 webinars into our courses, like, oh my God, what the hell is going on?
Cool.
It's not, I don't see a lot of it happening. These kind of spaces where there's real-time transmissions of love that open us immediately in our seats. You know, there's in the sort of the course world, I mean, not like in beautiful podcasts like this, but, you know, in the offerings out there, I find it's sort of a lot of just talk.
Yeah. You see, and you have a pretty good perspective on that because you've been doing this a long time, and you've been observing a long time. Have you you kind of see there's been a shift occurring? I mean, I noticed this at the end of 2019, doing this show again, second to my relationship with Morgan, is kind of the lifeblood of my awareness. Like, it's real-time intel. It's, you know, all that stuff. I noticed at the end of November 2019, or end of the year 2019, there started to be this shift of, you know, and talking to practitioners on the show, and like their modalities dropped or changed. Their sessions became more custom oriented. The kind of a yogi guru frequency kind of went away, you know, or maybe it's a codependent frequency, and this level of self-empowerment expanding within individual sessions and types of teaching. If I listen to what you were saying about how those go, it sounds very different than what we've been seeing, you know, over the previous few years. Have you noticed in your clients and in general a change in the receptivity of the old? I would say the old, or the past methods of communication and instruction.
Yes. What I am seeing and feeling is that people are desperate for authenticity. More than ever, people are aware of bullshit. You know, we've been fed bullshit from on every level of society, stuffed down our throats energetically. Like we have had enough. And because of, you know, the awakening that we're in, people are I can just feel that people are gagging for authenticity and humility. And humility, do you know, like where it's, you know, there's me and Liz actually did a bit of a little Instagram live on this the other day, because we feel quite not upset, but just kind of like, oh God, there's so many beautiful people out there who are genuinely looking and seeking, but most of what is presented is you know, in flashing lights and marketing and you know, and people talking but without really sharing. There's talking but they're not sharing themselves.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of a touchy subject, you know, and I've no, it really is, but I just went through another experience or lesson in this over the last few days, and I won't go into particulars, but I saw through some interactions, I saw several representations of this transition. So you have, let's just say, the old school methodology and what's being created as a new template, let's say, in terms of, like, say, the work that you do with your partner. And through it, I guess I looked closer at the energy of it, and there was a couple of examples of that, and I was just like, oh, that's not going to work. You know, like that's not going to work. This isn't about, like, the energy I got from what was presented or what I went looking for was obvious, more obvious to me. That's just not going to work. No, I don't care how many people are in that community or how many views. And it's not a judgment. It's more of a revelation. And then I saw a couple other ones, because there were 6 of them, and their energy was strikingly different. It was humble. It was kind of like a communication took place, and it was in reverence, mutual reverence. You know what I mean? And yeah, I can see where that's, like everything else, is getting magnified and enhanced. You know, the bullshit and the shift, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it's not. We can't really. There's not much hiding available anymore. You know, like it's becoming really clear. You know, where people's alliances are. Is there alliance to love, or is there alliance to whatever, popularity, fame, money, power, blah, 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 or is there alliance truly to humanity? Or we people are getting more and more savvy.
Yes,
you know.
Yes, I agree, and I think that's also showing up in even in the mainstream media. You know, where, you know, I've said this before, but, you know, you look at, say, for instance, false flag frequencies, you know, 20 years ago, like 9/11, and then through the years, and they just have no impact. You know, people are like, oh, whatever, you know. And so with the recent events, I would say, you know, let's just say 2020 up to today, you see a lot of people that are falling away from that. You know, they're just like, you know, I've had enough of this.
Yes.
It's a catalyst for sovereignty. It seems like these things that have occurred the last few months.
Yes, that's right. They've really pushed. They went too far. About a year ago, when I saw the, you know, audacity of this agenda, I just thought, oh no, they've just hung themselves, because this is going to be so obvious to so many people that this is not about public health. It really, you know, they've hung this. Great, it's perfect.
Yeah,
you know? It's undeniable.
Yeah. And it's just, it's not even worth getting into, because it's like you said, it's bigger than us, and it's happening. There's a true judge, referee, whatever you want to call it, that's bigger than all of us, or that we're a part
Yes,
of, or whatever you want to say. But
yes.
yeah, I could talk to you for a long time, and I look forward to, if you're open to it, I look forward to future collaborations, and of course with your friend as well, and maybe even together would
Yes.
be cool.
Oh, it'd be
Yeah,
wonderful.
that'd
We
be
really
cool.
work very well
Uh,
together. Yes.
so how do people? I know you have the Mana Movement on Facebook, and I believe I
Yes.
saw that it was on somewhere else too. Was it Instagram?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Instagram's probably a better place if people are on Insta, because Facebook is a very new little page and, just sort
Yeah.
of working it out there.
Okay.
But yeah, Instagram
So,
or a website. We have a website.
do you have
And
a website, the Mana Movement?
yes, the manamovement.org.
Mana
Yeah.
Movement.org. Boom.
Yeah.
That's on all the platforms right there.
Oh,
And
great.
then also you're on IG
Yeah,
and
so it's
and
at the
Facebook.
dot mana dot movement. So full stops in between the words.
Wait a minute. How do you do that? Say that again.
Okay, so at the
Oh,
dot
at the dot mana
mana dot
dot movement.
movement.
That's Instagram.
That's right.
Instagram. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't even know what IG meant till like 3 days ago. I kept saying,
Okay.
I better find out what my IG is, because I keep people, I keep seeing people say, "What's your IG?" I'm like, man, I hope nobody asks me that, because I don't know what the hell that is. I thought it was like something else. So I don't know if there's anything you want to do before we get out of here. I know you have, I know you sing and you have poetry, and I'm sure you probably channel and do other things. But if there's anything that you want to talk about before we leave, or anything you want to offer up, there's no pressure, no attachment. I just want to hand the floor over to you before we leave.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
Mhm.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me, and I'm so glad to have met you. You're a beautiful human being. I feel you very strongly. And I want to send my love to your beautiful wife as well, or your lady, your partner. I can feel her strongly, and I just want to thank you both for standing so strong in love together. And I really also want to say how much I feel your people here, the beautiful people who have been, writing comments down the side, although I haven't been able to watch them. I feel them. I feel your beautiful community, and they're radiant, gorgeous folk. And so I just want to say to all you lot listening, keep rocking your beautiful heart light, because I can feel it.
Right
And the
on.
world needs you shining that light. So, we've got a job to do, and let's do it with happiness and willingness, and let's just make today count, and let's just, keep shining lots of love and, looking after each other. Let's just keep looking after each other.
Yes. Right on to that. Right on to that. Great show to end the day with. And I just want to say again, thank you for coming in and sharing space and honoring us with your presence and being so open with us. And I look forward to many, many, many infinite collaborations, both in this incarnation and others.
Yay. Oh, lots of love, Todd.
Lots of love to you. I love you. You take care.
I love you too, brother.
We'll be
Have
back
a
later
beautiful
tonight.
afternoon.
Yeah, well, I'll be back later tonight with a Soulogy Fest broadcast and giving everybody an update. I'll start doing this probably daily and let you know what's happening and all that stuff. Thank you again, Chrissy. Thank you very much.
Todd.